being blessed with too much sunshine at the moment, are starting to heat up, at least on track. The world title fight going up a gear as we head to Europe. Marco Bezzecchi, of course, leading the way. A unbelievable start to the season, a perfect start to the season on Sundays for Marco Bezzecchi, as he is able to lead, can you believe, 121 consecutive laps dating all the way back to November last year and Portimao. So let's see if anyone can stop Bez. But looking from what we've seen so far this morning, I think we're going to be in for quite an interesting weekend. It was the VR46 duo back down here of Fabio Di Giannantonio and Franky Morbidelli that were able to take first and second. However, they went out late on with new rear tyres. Those that remained with the same set of medium rear tyres were Jorge Martin, Marco Bezzecchi, Marc Marquez and Alex Marquez, and it's those four names that jump off the timing screens as the ones having laid down the most impressive rhythm, the ones that look to be in the victory fight come Sunday. Interestingly, Marc Marquez, we've spoken so much about his physical condition. He told us yesterday that he's close to 100%, in a position now where he feels he can fight. However, looking at his lap times, I think you would have to say that those other three riders were quicker than Marc Marquez. Marc struggling to get into the 137s, whereas Alex, who has had a tough start to the year, but that was a very, very promising opening session of the weekend here in Jerez, a place, of course, that he was victorious at last year, was comfortably in those high 137s, as was Marco Bezzecchi, and the most eye-catching lap time of all came from Jorge Martin on his final lap of the session with 17 laps on the rear. He was able to put in a 137.6, his personal best of the session. So it does look as though that Marc, although saying that he's close to 100%, he was losing a little bit of time in that final sector through those two fast right-handers at 11 and 12. I'm not sure that we're going to see Marc at his very best from what we've seen anyway this morning, this weekend. But rule him out at your peril, because I'm sure that Marc Marquez is going to come out swinging, and maybe after having a month off, having done so much rehab work and gym work on the shoulder to rebuild the strength, rebuild the muscle, maybe he was just easing his way into it. We'll see what he's able to do later on today in that hour-long practice session, when hopefully the sun comes out and we're able to see what all of the top contenders have got in the locker. But an interesting start nonetheless, and it's been an interesting couple of weeks away from the MotoGP paddock, because although we've not been in racing action, there's been plenty going on. Most importantly, most interestingly, yesterday, Alex Rins, we just saw him, you might have seen, exiting the factory Yamaha box. He's going to be exiting the factory Yamaha box at the end of the season, a move that a lot of us were anticipating, but Alex confirming yesterday that about a week ago, Maio Meregali confirming to him that he will not be kept in his spot as part of the factory Ducati squad in 2027. All of the rumours suggesting that Jorge Martin has already penned a deal to ride for Yamaha next year, and it looks as though his teammate, which caught a lot of people by surprise, is going to be the Japanese star Ai Ogura. With regards to Alex Marquez, down here at Gresini, of course, speaking to DAZN yesterday, playing with the rumours that are linking him very, very strongly indeed with a move to the factory KTM squad next year, where at the start of the year we thought that his teammate was an obvious pick. It was widely reported Maverick Vinales, not here this weekend, not able to recover in time from that shoulder injury, was going to move up from the Tech 3 squad to the factory squad. But those rumours have cooled ever so slightly, and now there is strong talk that potentially Fabio Di Giannantonio is in discussions about a move to the factory KTM squad for next year. I don't think that will come as a surprise that Digia is a man in demand, given the way in which he started this season, almost the leading light. Well, is the leading light when you look at the championship for Ducati. It's been a very, very strong start for the Italian, and as a result, it seems as though he's got a couple of offers on the table for next year. Right, let's see if we can chat to someone. I saw Michele Messini out the back of short, walking past, but looks as though he's on his way to lunch. I would have loved to have grabbed a word with Michele after, as we said, for me, a hugely important opening session for Alex Marquez. In a press conference yesterday, spoke about the fact that he didn't think given what he'd seen from the opening 3 rounds of the year, he was going to be in a position whereby he could go back-to-back here in Jerez. But I have to say, the lap times and what he was able to do this morning would suggest otherwise. Ducati, as Davide Tardozzi confirmed to me in pit lane during that opening session at the weekend, has been hard at work trying to find answers, trying to find solutions, trying to narrow the gap that Aprilia have clearly got on them at the moment. It does seem as though that work has worked ever so slightly. Ducati unbeaten here in our last 5 visits. So let's see if that run can continue as we see a Mr. Franky Morbidelli come and chat to some of his Italian colleagues, Italian counterparts, and we'll grab a very quick word with Franky afterwards. Second fastest this morning, a good start, a challenge in Austin. Franky, good morning. Good job. It looks as though you enjoyed getting back out on your bike there.
I did. We started well the morning, and that's positive.
What was the track riding like? A little bit cooler than what we normally have here.
Yeah, it's a bit cooler, the condition. I don't mind it. Jerez, when it's like this, is also more grippy, so it's nice, and it's always fun. I'd say it's not more fun. It's different, more grippy, beautiful.
Good job. Enjoy this afternoon.
Thank you.
There we go. Great to grab a very quick word with Franky there. Yeah, good start to life. He needed that as well. It was a real challenge in Austin for Franky Morbidelli, although he did put on a bit of a comeback on Sunday, but for the vast part of the weekend, he was fairly anonymous. So that a strong start, I do have to say. Both him and his teammate did go out with brand new tyres, which of course was a big help in seeing them move up the timesheets into first and second, but still, pace is pace, and that will certainly put a smile on his face, as you can see there. And stand him in good stead, you would imagine, going into the time attacks later on this afternoon, especially if conditions remain as they are, and it does remain cool, and as Franky said, those grip levels are slightly higher than what they may have been used to over previous visits here. So that's the Ducati cam. Let's move down to Aprilia. And we should mention, I can't believe I haven't yet, that we have mentioned that the pace, the rhythm, the speed of Jorge Martin. Well, on top of that as well, a rather unusual crash for Martinator, the number 89. After the checkered flag, once he'd gone back out on track at the start of the practice start session, would you believe? It's the first time I've seen this happen. He crashed on his outlap coming round to the grid at turn 3. At the last thing he would have wanted. He is absolutely A-OK though, no issues whatsoever. Got back to the box and actually went out onto the pit wall to watch a couple of those practice starts, but after a really solid start, I mean, Jorge Martin just doing Jorge Martin things once again, crashing whilst doing a wheelie after winning the sprint in dramatic fashion the last time we were racing in Austin, and again, Martin now crashing, creating history once more by, for me I think anyway, I can't remember the last time someone crashed on the way to the grid during the practice start session. So a busy afternoon, a busy lunch break for the Aprilia guys, which they weren't anticipating when they saw him move up to 9th, I believe it was, on the timesheets with his final lap of the session. Down to Honda, and again, Joan Mir, someone that took my eye in that session. Mir desperately needs to see the checkered flag this weekend after a run of 5 non-point scoring finishes, 5 straight crashes as well, meaning that we need to see a step forward, we need to see a checkered flag from Joan Mir as his crew chief, Santi Hernandez. Here is, looks like gifted some items, lucky him. Of course, Santi, long-time crew chief to Marc Marquez, helped Marc to 6 of his 7 MotoGP crowns. We're now working with Joan Mir, and as we said, Joan still without a seat for next year. We're speaking to the media yesterday, and there's a lot of talk about the possible switch of Tech 3 from KTM to Honda. Does that open an opportunity for Joan Mir? I would say no, because he himself has said that it is factory or nothing as far as he's concerned. He feels he's put in the work with Honda and deserves to reap the rewards that potentially might be coming their way if their 850 machine is as good as what a lot of people are expecting it to be. Honda were hard at work over the last few weeks in Sepang with both Taka Nakagami and Alessia Spargaro testing the 850 prototype. machine. Alicia Spargo there, you might have seen on social media, did suffer a pretty hefty crash. So we, of course, do send our best to Alicia Spargo as he continues his recovery from that crash. It looks as though he's going to be on the sidelines for quite some time as a result of that one, as we see Danny Pedrosa here, MotoGP Hall of Famer, no less, in his KTM attire, still in a test rider role with them, although not wildcarding this weekend. Pol Espargaro should have stepped in to replace Maverick Vinales, but in preparation for this one, did crash whilst riding his motocross machine, and as a result that means that the Texas squad down to just one machine of Enea Bastianini this weekend. Danny, also in a bit of an advisory role to KTM and the board as well, is in constant discussion with Pit Byron with regards to the sporting decisions that are going to be taken with regards to KTM, and I'm sure he's going to play a pretty big influence when it comes to what their rider lineup will be in the factory squad next year. As Danny heads off, we won't interrupt him. There's a man on a mission, is Mr. Danny Pedrosa, as he makes his way through the back of the garages. Let's head back down this way then. And, well, whilst we're at the KTM, we've spoken on the fact that no Maverick Vinales this year, but the three riders that were here, Pedro Acosta, the leading light, and was pretty impressive, I would have to say. Once again, it looks as though this is a place where he's had success in both Moto 3 and Moto 2, and you would imagine that given his strength under braking, this is somewhere that he might be able to gain some time and potentially could be able to be a little bit closer to the front as he tries to continue to keep himself in the World Championship fight. Although, when speaking to the press yesterday in our pre-event press conference, he did say that, understandably, the Ducatis and the Aprilia do have an edge on us. He's hoping that he can try and stay in the mix for as long as possible, and maybe with some improvements at Monday's test. A reminder that there is a test here on Monday for all of the MotoGP factories, that we could see Pedro Acosta with a slight improvement to the bike, get closer to the front, and as a result able to keep himself in that World Championship fight right until the bitter end. He has been Mr. Consistent so far. He's maximised all three of our opening 3 weekends, of course taking that memorable, unforgettable debut TISO sprint win in our opening race of the year, our opening encounter of the year in Thailand, and backed it up with a brilliant podium finish last time out in Austin as well. So Pedro continuing to get the absolute most out of his package, and as a result is hopping around championship contention. Marco Bezzecchi, of course, is the World Championship leader, but for a man that's won the opening 3 Grand Prix of the year, to only have a 4-point gap coming here shows that there's some work that really does need to be done on a Saturday. We're yet to see Bez maximise his potential in Saturday's sprints, and if he's to win the World Championship, then he needs to be able to do a little bit more. As we see Marc Marquez here signing some autographs for these young kids in attendance, all part of the Marc Marquez fan club. And great to see that the 93 so very well supported as ever here at the Spanish Grand Prix in Jerez. Of course, hasn't taken a victory here since 2019, now 7 years ago, as we see the fans coming together for a nice photo. The little kids, I'm hoping, are going to be looking the way of the camera to get a nice pic. I imagine this is the fan club chairman, are they? The presidents. And they've all got their 93 scarves and t-shirts on for this weekend. And I'm sure they're going to be in the We Are 93 grandstand over at Turn 1 come Sunday's Grand Prix as well. Plenty of photos for the 7-time MotoGP World Champion, 9-time World Champion, of course, when you add his Moto 2 and 125 successes as well. A busy man, unsurprisingly, wherever he goes, as he gets hugs, kisses and a wave. I have to say, from what we saw in the opening few rounds of the year, I said that I didn't feel as though that spark was there with Marc. He was ill during the test in Thailand, and given the huge crash he had on Friday morning in Austin, which he told us yesterday had more of an impact on him than you would anticipate. He was a man that was just laboured ever so slightly, a man that, I don't know, just didn't have that spring in his step of someone that was fighting for a world championship once again. But that gap, I think, of all riders on the grid has helped Marc more than anyone. He's got the colour back in his face, which I know sounds a silly thing to say, but he can just sense that he has got a real dogged determination about him to make a statement this weekend. He knows that he has to react to what we've seen from Aprilia and Marco Bezzecchi. He knows that he has to make sure that Marco Bezzecchi knows that he's in a fight this year, and he has to give him something to think about. And if he can do it here in Jerez at the Spanish Grand Prix with the crowd on his side, what a momentum shift that could be. His lap times this morning maybe suggested that he's got his work cut out, that he might have his brother once again to try and fend off, which he did last year. Of course, crashed out in the opening stages, so we never knew if he had a response to Alex in last year's Spanish Grand Prix. But Marc is, a man on a mission, you feel, this weekend. As we said, 7 years since he took victory here in Jerez, and you feel as though victory here on Sunday would be huge for him in the championship picture. 36 points adrift he is of the Italian as he tries to narrow the gap this weekend. 36, of course, 37, the maximum number of points. So we could leave this weekend as World Championship leader. We'll take something rather remarkable for that to happen. We're very quickly got a word. Marc, good start to the weekend.
Yes, standard. It's okay. Yeah,
good stuff.
fine. Thank you.
No problem. There we go. Nice and quick from Marc Marquez. We allow him to spend most of his time with the fans here. Standard. Good start to the weekend. Not a man. Well, he never gives much away, does he, Marc Marquez? Keeping his cards close to his chest there, but a standard start, a happy start, a content, a smiling Marc Marquez, a little bit of smiling assassin as he tries to take down Aprilia this weekend. There's a lot of questions, not many answers so far in this pivotal weekend in the MotoGP World Championship. We're going to find out more answers when we go into practice later on this afternoon. 60 minutes coming up, 3 o'clock local time. Thanks for joining us on Inside the Paddock. We'll be back with you tomorrow, same time, same place. Do join us.